Welcome, my wonderful viewers. I'm back at it again, but this time I'll be covering Season 2. As you already know, I love Mushoku Tensei. It's one of my favorite series. With its amazing characters and vibe, I already spoke a bit about it in my first part. Season 2 will be treated no different from Season 1. You all know it. This is a glazing video where the comparisons won't be the center of attention, but rather I will highlight the best episode and my favorite episodes from Season 2. I just couldn't help it. I need to continue to glaze Mushoku Tensei. So, without further ado, Mushoku Tensei Season 2 is just as good as its previous season, though I can see where the qualms and critiques of the first part of Season 2 come from, thanks to the erectile dysfunctioning arc being odd, but the second part of it made up for it in my mind, and the ED arc was one of the most unique arcs I have ever witnessed in any medium. The best episode of Season 2 was my pick for best episode of 2024, and if you need more of a clue, think Father's Day. Here are the options. They're all wrong. That's right, episode 23 Parents is the best episode of Season 2, and it might beat Turning Point 2 for the best episode of Mushoku Tensei for how hard it hits, but it depends on who you ask. The episode starts as Rudius and Party, Paul, Roxy, and Annalise, and everyone else, see the Hydra. Zenith is in a crystal behind it. The battle that ensues is quick, and the party retreats and regroups. Paul is frustrated at Rudy for not feeling the same way as him, and we get an interesting revelation from Rudius that he doesn't necessarily view Zenith as his mother due to him not seeing her for many years and not having the same engaging relationship as he had with Paul. Paul manages to calm down and thanks everyone for helping him get to his point. They strategize and go back to the fight. The beginning portion of the episode is fantastic in the way it threads the rest of the episode. The viewer feels the death flag on Paul. It also leaves us with the excruciating fight the party will have to go through. It also shows us, the viewer, how Rudy feels about both his parents. The battle with the Hydra is one of the best, if not the best fight we have gotten from Mushoku Tensei. The fact that magic doesn't work on it unless you are close adds a level of difficulty that lets us see Rudy going all out with him needing time to shoot his magic after Paul cuts the head. Paul was also a huge standout in this fight, with him being the biggest focal point in the battle, with him being the only one to cut off the Hydra's head. The battle felt like a dungeon boss raid with how every character was circling the Hydra. Roxy, Talhan running around in a circle around it was a beautiful visual to see. The battle felt like a dungeon boss raid, and the choreography, the animation, the soundtrack, the voice acting, and every little thing about the fight was amazing. Then, the episode's tension is released when Rudy loses focus and gets saved by Paul. Rudy sees the Hydra and sticks his hand in the eye and casts Stone Cannon. But that doesn't work, and Rudy gets dragged by the Hydra, with Roxy being the one to finish it. Rudy went flying with one arm and used healing magic to stop the bleeding. Rudy feels relief, but the episode puts a lot of tension on what happened to Paul after he pushed Rudius away. Rudy thinks that the only thing he lost was his hand, but then sees the rest of the party in shock. Rudy sees what they're looking at, and it's Paul's severed body. It's cut in half. The tone of despair is felt through the rest of the episode. The silence from the party and Rudy leaves the viewer with the idea of hopelessness that nothing could have changed. The scene where Rudy picks up Paul's ash body after burning it is the nail in the coffin of despair felt. Zenith was saved, but at what cost? The episode follows the party returning in silence after what happened, and Rudy goes to his room to rest while thinking of Paul, thinking of everything that transpired. The episode feels like it was over, but now they flash forward a few days and we see Rudy with Lilia, and she says it's possible that Zenith won't wake up. And Zenith wakes up at that moment. But something is wrong, and we the viewer are hit with a double critical hit, as it appears that she can't talk or remember who they are. The episode is an emotional roller coaster with how dark it gets with the conclusion of the battle. It leaves us with nothing. The viewer can't hope, and we can only despair. The episode is diabolical. It truly is. It has everything you would want except a happy ending. It hit me very hard when I first watched it, and it's hard to compete with something that hits you like a dump truck. The aftermath of the episode has a lot of character development for Rudy. The episode leads to Rudy finally acknowledging Paul as his father. Rudy felt like a fake, but shows how much Paul means to him in episodes after. This also leads Rudy to actually start to grow out of his childlike mentality, with Paul's death being a focal point of it, and him having a child also be contributing to the change. The episode cemented Paul as one of my favorite characters ever. He was a cheater, a somewhat lousy father, and did some horrendous stuff to women. Yet, I still fell for this man. Peak writing, peak episode, from its action to its characters, this truly was the best episode of Mushoku Tensei for me. Now we can get into the real meat of my personal favorite episode of Season 2. Special mention to Episode 10, The White Mask, and Episode 16, A Fall for being banger episodes with Nanahoshi. The choices are... Let's do this in ascending order. Episode 13, I Want to Tell You, had to be up here. Let's be real. Out of all the part 1 of Season 2 was building up to this. Quick refresher, Rudy had been struggling with erectile dysfunction, aka ED, all throughout part 1 of Season 2. He came to the Magic University to find a cure for his ED. Sylphie finally revealed who she was a few episodes ago, and is adamant on helping Rudius. Episode 13 is the climax, literally and figuratively, for Rudius' arc this season. I shit you not, I have never been as excited and hyped for another man's meat to work than this episode. The fact that the whole part of the season was dedicated to this baffles me. Yet it still manages to capture and engage the viewer's attention, which speaks volumes to the writing of Mushoku Tensei. Episode 13 manages to pull a satisfying conclusion to this unique arc. The scene where Rudius thinks Sylphie left him is heartbreaking to see, but it being bait made it 100 times better. We see Rudy finally being able to overcome the trauma Eris left him. Eris did nothing wrong. Rudy and Sylphie then proceed to announce their marriage. We knew what we were getting, and it did not disappoint. Episode 13 will always remain a pivotal part of Mushoku Tensei. 10 out of 10, peak reincarnation. Next one is Turning Point 3. Alright, this Turning Point episode was not as action-packed or stuffed with a bunch of lore drops, but it uses that lack of information to its benefit. The episode centers more on the question, should Rudius go to help save Zenith and reunite his family, or should he stay with his pregnant wife Sylphie in order to raise his child? In the beginning of the episode, we see Rudy fully enjoying his current life with his friends, wife, and sister. We even get the reveal that Sylphie is pregnant. Then halfway through the episode, Rudy receives a letter stating that Zenith rescue is going bad. Rudy then has to come to a decision to go or to stay. Rudy asks around and gets a variety of answers, with one of his friends, Denoba, telling him that a child could grow without its fathers. Then the man god tells Rudius not to go, because something bad will come of it, while also telling him to become intimate with one of the Beast Girls. This dilemma is a powerful one that doesn't seem to have a straightforward answer to it, until Norn, who is Rudius' sister, tries to leave on her own, and she realistically can't do anything about the situation. She is not strong, she also has no way to combat the issue, yet she is still trying. This changes Rudius' mind on the issue, and he decides to go. The episode's contrast from its beginning to its end is what makes it an amazing episode for me. I put this episode lower than all the other turning points, yet it is still one of the most impactful episodes in Mushoku Tensei, for how it affected the story going forward. Call me a dual wielder, because this is another 10 out of 10 peak reincarnation. Roxy did nothing wrong. I know that is a controversial take, but this is for another video. For now, episode 25, Succession, will be picking up the slack. Episode 25 is a fantastic conclusion for season 2. It picked up right after one of the most debated episodes of Mushoku Tensei, episode 24, which left a sour taste for most viewers thanks to Rudy and Roxy, doing the deed. But for all the complaints, episode 25 manages to put most, if not all of them, to rest. The episode picks up with Rudy returning home after Paul's death. The episode manages to close up any grievances we had with the previous episode in the form of Norn, berating the hell out of Rudy and Roxy. Norn did what most of us were thinking. Norn was the voice of reason for the viewer. This episode also brought Roxy into frame, with her becoming Rudy's second wife. Like father, like son, Rudy officially became a dual wielder, and it's thanks to Sylphie. I mean, if Eris was married, I'm pretty sure she would have killed the girl Rudy would bring. This episode had a lot of emotional moments, with Norn's grievance, Rudy at Paul's grave, and Rudy having his child be born. This episode was the conclusion that the season needed. It leaves hope for the future and manages to put it all the hopelessness of the previous episodes to rest. Roxy played a huge part in that. The episode is the stuff I watch Mushoku Tensei for. Once again, call me Zoro, because this is a 10 out of 10 episode.
I called Norn MVP, but if I'm being honest, I thought she was an annoying character at first. I know she had valid reasons, but still, she was annoying from a viewer's perspective. Rudy does his best, but she still seems to dislike him at every turn, which is why her character development episode is the best. Episode 18, My Older Brother's Feelings, manages to make a character I honestly disliked and thought was a bitchy character turn into one of my current favorite characters. If a show could do that, then that should be a testament to its writing, because damn. The episode also included things I like characters to go into another world to do, think about their past. We've seen Rudius reflect a bit about his past, but this episode made Rudius think about his own older brother and how he tried to help him. The episode shows how much Rudius actually cares about his sister. He empathizes with Norn and he feels bad how he treated his brother when he tried to help him in the past. This episode shows off how Rudius as a character has grown, with him by the end realizing that Norn was able to do something past him couldn't. The viewer also gets to see things from Norn's perspective, which leads to a deeper understanding of her character. This conclusion with her seeing Paul in Rudius and her accepting him is peak reincarnation. This is what makes Mushoku Tensei peak for me. This episode is my personal favorite episode out of every episode this season, except the parents episode. But this development in characters is what I love about Mushoku Tensei. Call me a Ninja Turtle fan because this is an 11 out of 10 episode. Peak reincarnation.
Making this video builds excitement for season 3 in me. I know I've been yammering on, but that is how much I love Mushoku Tensei. Thank you for watching the video. Leave a comment on your favorite episode and why. Also, please like the video if you want more content like this. I would actually love to keep making Mushoku Tensei videos. And subscribe. I've been Mini Dragon 21. Peace.